What's up, y'all? It's Carla, aka Sela the Poet. How is everybody doing? I know it's been a very, very hot day. Um, I'm grateful that I survived the hot day. I was under AC at work, and I hope that everybody was able to stay cool and stay hydrated. So, tonight I'm going to share one of my journal excerpts that I wrote years ago, and it talks about the reason why I joined the goth community, goth experience. I hope that somebody could relate to it, and if you want to give me feedback, you can give me feedback. There's always a reason why somebody chooses, makes certain choices. There's, a reason why experiences happen to people and it shapes them and it shapes who they are. So, the name of this journal excerpt is called On Being an Outcast. To be goth means to be nonconformist. I refuse to conform to shallow standards of society. I don't care to try to be like everyone else. I choose to stand for what I believe in and not just jump on the bandwagon of public opinion. I never really felt like I belonged. I find myself feeling alone and detached. In the past, I've suffered violence, abuse, discrimination, indifference, racism, and double mindedness from people who claimed that they would be there. Wanting to connect, but not trusting anyone because of people's actions, and not being able to connect in the way that I would like. I don't fit into the box of characteristics or stereotypes people want to put me in or place me in. My first scapegoating experience came from my own family. After years of private abuse, disrespect, and mistreatment, I decided to resist and say enough is enough. I spoke out publicly against my family's violent actions. I even took action against some of them through legal means. I then became the scapegoat, the outcast, the black sheep, the one that gets blamed for all the problems in our family. Though it's a fucking lie and an illusion. These relatives never take an honest look at themselves or take responsibility for their violence, abuse, or toxic behavior. I could no longer accept or take the way that I was being treated or the bullshit and the lies, so I left and cut ties. The ringleader was my abusive mom. I labeled her Mommy Dearest. She was able to charm and influence and manipulate the rest of the family, and they believed her and her lies and false stories. So the people that used to be allies are no longer allies. So the only person that I really had to depend on was myself, God, my own children, and, maybe like people that are my friends and people that are strangers. The people I used to spend holidays and with and all these life milestones with, are no longer really in my life like that. So there are times when I feel pretty much like I'm on edge and I'm always living like on my defensive, always waiting for others to treat me like my family of origin. And then it's hard for me to trust anybody. I've never, it's like it's hard to be comfortable, and sometimes you try to keep people and media and stuff like that at a safe distance so that, my heart is protected. The walls that sometimes people put up are to protect themselves and help them to survive. So we live in a dark, cruel jungle of a world where you don't know who is who. And sometimes family, you don't know family from enemy, lover from abuser, friend from nemesis. The lines that separate these categories are very thin and sometimes even blurred. If Judas, a man in Jesus' close circle, could betray him, I'm not naive enough to think for 1 minute that it can't happen to me. So, the outcast life living under the shadows of people's fear, indifference, ignorance, shallow preferences, lies and falsehoods, apathy, hatred, and uncomfortability. People don't understand you, or they ignore you, attack you, reject you, or treat you like a target because you won't conform. I don't fit in, and society tries to force you into a category or a space, and I will resist it. The outcast life also means being hated for who you are because you're real, authentic, or different, or unconventional. I don't expect a whole bunch of love and acceptance or kindness from anyone. It's not something I expect, but if I do have that shown to me, it's probably purely out of luck or out of maybe just the mercy of God, you know? Because there's so many people that are like fake and godless, and people that are living and wearing masks, you know? So it's kind of like you have to live your life like you're a soldier who's always ready to fight at a moment's notice. Okay, so the second part of my blog, I'm going to read. This one is labeled God Thoughts. So the reality of my emptiness, the deep void that I sometimes feel, and the pain that I feel within me is kicking in, and I can no longer repress it. My days are haunted and touched by the inner mourning I feel. Mourning the loss of past relationships, desires never fulfilled, broken dreams, and broken visions. My grief seems to outweigh the gratitude I feel towards God for the smallest blessings, which I know are gifts from Him. I'm trying to murder and kill my old desires and wants because they are not what's going to make me happy. The stupid fairy tale that Disney taught me about a Prince Charming and the movies that portray soulmates and the one were all lies and illusions. If people do find that person they love, it's because they were pre-chosen in God's lottery for who gets loved and who gets persecuted, which I'm on the latter. Every time I've loved, that person eventually betrayed me, abused me, abandoned me, or punished me for it. So it doesn't seem worth it sometimes, you know, so a lot of times I just kind of retreat in my own cave of solitude, you know, denying my emotions, what I used to want, so I can find a new dark shadowy path. You know, one where I'll be safe to walk upon it without people's violence, bullshit, and drama. So these was just some of my gothic thoughts that I had, you know, a while back. And, you know, to live the gothic life, can be sometimes a very lonely path. You know, even in the goth community, sometimes you'll have people that they might judge you, or you might have people that are like racist and stuff like that. But I find gothic people sometimes to be very, very realistic. They're the dreamers, they're artistic, they think outside of the box. They don't have to fit into everything. They're basically, you know, the rebels, the outcasts, the innovators. These are where I find these individuals are in the gothic and alt and artistic communities, you know, and I'm glad to have found a community like that I don't feel that much of an outcast from. So anyway, there'll be more content that I post later. Peace for now.